Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So let's start with Pesh. Who do you want to go first, Sherry Ann? I'll let you.
You go first
All right.
today.
Physically, I am a 4.7. Yeah, 4.7. Emotionally, I am a 4.5. Spiritually, a 4.4. And hope is a 4.4. And my word is enough.
So physically, I am a 4. Emotionally, 4-1. Spirit 4-3. Hope is a 4. And my word is curious.
Always a good space to be in is curious.
Yes.
I mean, just on generally the word curious, obviously I don't know where yours really lies, but when you stay curious, you can then lack judgment.
I like that
Yeah.
perspective.
Just what came up for me in that moment.
So today we're talking about our fundamentals program. And I feel like the reason that we're devoting a podcast to that is because we get questions from people. It's like, okay, so what's this fundamentals program? What do you do? Who is it for? Um, with people wanting to know, is this right for me when they're looking at training with the Cancer Journey Institute? So I think it'll be a fun kind of like unveiling of what fundamentals is all about.
For those who don't know what the Fundamentals program is, it is the Fundamentals of Cancer Journey Coaching. So it is the perfect introduction to our curriculum. It goes over our proprietary frameworks and it welcomes a wider swath, I would say, of individuals, people who have experienced already coaching as professional coaches, as emerging coaches, but even people who have never coached before, but there is a deep calling to this work and they want to better understand what opportunities are out there for them, but also just in general what resources are for them. Being a cancer focused company, we talk to so many people in the cancer community, and really, I mean, the world is kind of a cancer community at this point, right? Like, I don't know a single individual whose life has not been touched by cancer. And so this fundamentals program, it's not just for people who have gone through treatment and are survivors per se. Because it's a 12-week program, it's a little bit shorter, and so therefore it's much more accessible to a lot of people. But we accept patients, thrivers, survivors, and caregivers who feel that they have the time to devote to meeting once a week for 2 hours throughout this 12-week period, to really get a better idea of what we do and how we support the cancer community with coaching that specifically drives all of these smaller bits that we feel, right? Like the emotional, mental, spiritual bits, which can be so much harder to grasp because they're, not nearly as concrete as knowing what the treatment or nutrition or fitness or any of that comes after. This is so much more about your being. And if you've tuned in with us before and any of our other podcast episodes, you start to get a gist of what the vibe is here.
Yeah. I mean, on so many levels, it is everything that you've said. And I'm going to kind of like stretch it out a little bit. So, yes, mental, emotional, and spiritual standpoints. That we really get into that yummy inner workings. And that is, yes, for anyone who's on their journey and feel like they have capacity to take this in. Because the learning is for them as it is if they want to help others.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like the first step if somebody's just curious. Let me use my word of today about what is cancer journey coaching. So patient, survivor, thriver, caregiver. And then when we talk about the caregivers, it's caregivers from um, a familial, a friend, a beloved standpoint. I am a caregiver of that person, or within the medical clinician world. So, caregivers are also nurses, therapists, social workers, every level of nursing. So, all the way up to PAs, and then the NPs, the nurse practitioners, and then there's the physicians. I mean, we've pretty much trained them someone in all of that realm, including like radiation therapist and mental health therapist. It's all of that. And why they come to something like the fundamentals is to enhance their platform of what they can use with a cancer individual. Again, working with the patient, survivor, thriver, and caregiver. There isn't a place that I know of where you can have this breadth of knowledge and foundational things, which is why it's called fundamentals, foundational tools and frameworks and concepts to work with the cancer population. And so we created this to be either the first step in or as the supplemental training for somebody who is more seasoned or educated in their profession. Well, I feel like I need to just pause there because that was a big mouthful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it creates a level playing field for everyone who we can come together and share what we want to share. Really, you don't have to, give your entire story, but we still get to say, "Hey, I've had this experience with cancer and it's changed me and it's made me want to um support people who are going through similar circumstances." Um so much of what we do too with, like the big swath of people that you said, those nurse practitioners, the physician's assistants, um, sometimes we think that they have an all-powerful kind of perspective because they see so many cancer patients, families, the community come in and out. But what this program specifically gives to not only that population, but anyone who's even experiencing cancer themselves is this deeper understanding of how to be human and how to um recognize both yourself and others more deeply throughout this entire experience. It's such a difficult place to be in, to
Mhm.
be surrounded by cancer, period. Like in you, around you, it is really challenging to continue to see it as the important thing that it is without being desensitized. And we're not trying to pull anyone out of that, especially if that's something that they necessarily need to do their work. What we're doing is we're providing a deeper exploration of the emotions that are here and recognition of the emotions that are here for yourself and for the other person. And that recognition actually, the recognition of emotions is not necessarily deeply emotional. Um, and I mean that in the way that, like, we can see other people without taking all of that on and having it weigh
Yes.
on our shoulders. And that's something that you really, really learn through the Cancer Journey Institute. We kind of put some of our work into two camps, but really they tend to blend into each other. The first camp being professional development. So this program is definitely specifically um, geared toward that professional development as a cancer coach with those coaching skills, as is our certification program with the beautiful side product that almost is evenly balanced with that professional development of personal growth. And so many people come to us wanting to take their experience and make meaning of it and pay it forward. But what they actually find is that they absorb so much of this curriculum internally that we're not trying to change anyone. We're not trying to change their mind about something. We're not trying to turn them into someone else. We're trying to allow them to blossom because so often we find that people are a little bit like clothes, like a closed bud. Um, and we know that we're there, we know that we're in existence, and there's so many things in our brain that, like, we know what's going on. I know how to take care and be with cancer patients or be with cancer in general, but how are we in our hearts being with it and letting ourselves be vulnerable, sad when we need to, mad when we need to, and almost have that clarity that allows us to blossom and be our full selves around everyone without feeling like we need to shutter those petals and protect ourselves because we can trust who we are. So that's my metaphor of what you get out of our training programs, really. But specifically with fundamentals, there's so many more people who find it so much more accessible right away.
Yes. And I love the blossom metaphor as you were talking. I kept going, expanding. We're expanding you. And that's what people come for in the professional development. And I get that because we're really invested into developing our professions or our careers or our work in the world. But that side effect that you were speaking to, that is almost as equal in terms of the uh, the level of growth and development that happens, that personal growth. I just want to pause and talk about that for a moment. Is that most of the people who come through the Cancer Journey Institute are either somebody who has had an experience with cancer, or they so a personal experience, and so they can really relate, or they are um, supporting people in that world, and because of that there is a cancer journey to process. So as we're teaching them the foundational tools, they are actually experiencing it themselves, because our philosophy is you it's almost like permission. Not that we hold the permission wand and you can't do it another way, but we really believe that you should not use a tool or a concept or any kind of framework on somebody if you have not experienced it yourself. There
Mhm.
is something about treatment. When I was going through treatment, where when I was going through radiation and they had to make a custom made mask to hold my head in place and then clip that down, was so traumatizing and traumatic for me, actually, that I asked my doc, have you ever tried this? Have you allowed somebody to put you through this? And sadly, I was told no. And I'm like, oh my goodness, for you to do this very traumatic thing. And I've heard so many stories, because we're talking to cancer individuals all the time, that they also have experienced that angst, maybe not to the level that I did. So, for me, it was debilitating. I think I became claustrophobic because of that particular situation, that they needed to, the practitioner who was taking me through this needed to have that, so that their level of compassion could be higher. So we feel like humans,
Mhm.
and that I wanted to bring that part in. Is it all comes back to, we're all humans, and so nobody wants to be treated like a thing. I hear in clinical trials, the clinical trial individuals have been screaming lately, like, I'm a person. And while I understand from the logistical part, they have to be a number and anonymous, it is still really important to treat people like a human.
Mhm.
And that's what you get a lot about in our foundations, in the fundamentals program, in a way that doesn't, as you said, have you take on the emotions or take anything from your soul. It's like you get to be of service. You get to do this work of meaning and treat people like humans. And you get to have that experience. It's like, oh, I went through a cancer experience, or I'm going through one. How do I really support this person? Not in a, oh my God, I've tried to take on a new job, but in ways that make a difference.
Yeah, we're not asking anyone to drop things. We're not asking them to become someone completely different. It's like this, and we get to add things to who you are to, like you said, expand what's there. I did want to touch on how we were saying that we don't like give anything to our clients that we don't experience ourselves. And that's such an important part of our training. And that's also what makes our training really unique. We've said many, many times to people that, like, oh, it's adult learning. So you are responsible as an adult, and we expect you to, uphold the energy that you give will be the energy you get and the information you get, and the more you practice you'll be able to take it on. Yes, absolutely still true, but our learning model is quite unique compared to a lot of other coach trainings, or just trainings in general, especially in this day and age of, like, here's technology, here's Zoom, here are videos, like, watch this video and take a test and you're certified. That's not how we do things because we are so personalized. There are certain, like, lessons here and there that can obviously be shared that way, especially when it's more of a consistent lesson or tool that we're doing. But really, when we're teaching in our programs, we explain the concept, we introduce it, we talk about it, we demo it. The instructors, the professionals, our master coaches, they demonstrate that concept to you with either one of the participants who are in there or with each other. And then we give you an opportunity to practice in that same, like, session, in that same meeting. You'll get all of that. So, like, you get to be bad at something and then have immediate feedback, and in a very loving way. Obviously, it's not like, stop, you're doing it wrong, but it's more like, okay, I see where you're coming from there, this is what you may want to do instead and where you might want to focus. But it allows you to also, like, gosh, it's so hard to try something new. So, like, if I was watching a video from a training online and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I wrote it down, I took my notes, I took the test, I passed the test, that's fine. But when I have to go do it out in real life, if I had like a real client and I'd never practiced that work, I just kind of know it in my head. I don't know what I'm going to do wrong. No one's there to give me feedback. I literally just have to be so freaking confident in myself to just do it. So doing this model really lets you be bad at something and not be wrong. It lets you try it. It lets you also be the client, be a practice client, and feel what it feels like to get that too, right? So in the demo, we often use our participants. And then in the practice, we obviously use our participants. We're not bringing in fresh clients for everyone to just work with. It's important to know what that relationship feels like from both ends. And when someone in the program gets to be a client, they are real. They're super, super, super real. They're bringing something that just pops up for them. They don't have to have it predetermined or have, we don't want a predetermined answer. We want the realest situation we can get from them. And that way they don't have to focus on like what the coach is doing right or wrong either. They get to just be the client and then have either the group or the instructor reflect back to them what they did right, first of all, because we're very big on celebrating what we do right, but also giving you some tips on like how you can do it better. So even in one session of this whole 12 sessions, right? We're not like reading chapters to each other, hoping that we absorb it. We're really practicing, we're getting what we need. And, we have this concept of designing the relationship very early on. We want everyone to ask for exactly what they need in that moment. If someone's like, wait, we're moving too fast, can you slow down, do it again? Yes, of course, of course. And you don't have to replay a video over and over to understand or get that. And then you get the immediate answer to your question instead of, I don't know, if you had a question to a video, I guess you would submit it to the company and ask them to respond to you. But this dynamic is so important in all of our training programs that it makes all of our participants like excited to come back. And it feels like we get to show up so real. Some people want to do their pre-work, some people just want to show up the way they are in that day at that time, and both are completely valid and relevant. We want the realness of what you're experiencing this time, and we want you to be 100% you without having to like, show up and put on your blazer or whatever and like make a show of it. Just be real, show up how you are, and we're here to accept that.
Wow, you said so much. So there's a couple of things I wanted to double click on. I want to say them before I forget. So there is the part of um, how we train you, and back to the personal growth. That's one. Two, oh my God, I'm going to forget this. Two is, what's the last part you just said?
Being able to absorb the
R-
information and
Right.
showing up real.
Yes. And then the realness. Okay. So what I hear most often from people who are going through our trainings, but also after, is like, wow, that was, not only was it feeling like it was flew by, because every week they're learning and processing, and the tools tend to build on each other. What we say is bring your real life, just as you were saying, what's in the moment, because real life always still happens, even though you're on a cancer journey. It's not like the world stops. We kind of want it to, the world to stop, and then we take care of that, and then we come back to the world. It's not like that. It's like, oh, now I've got the situation that I'm dealing with, along with the life that's still happening. If you're a mom, this kid, you still have kids. If you're a worker, what do you do with your work? It's just we still need to deal with the circumstances and the situations about our life, and so any tool that you learn is not just good for the cancer experience or the cancer journey. A good tool is a good tool for life.
Mhm.
I say that over and over again because all of our tools are, yes, of course, great while you're on the cancer journey, but they also relate and work into everyday life. So the experience that the trainees get is like, not only am I working on a profession for me or enhancing my profession, I'm growing as a person, and I'm starting to stand more powerfully and authentically and real into who I am. Oh, I forgot about that part of me. Or I I kind of held myself back because I was afraid, or this got in the way, or my inner critic got in the way. We get to bust through that and show up as you're learning these skills to enhance your profession or your work. And then it's like at the end, you're like this dynamic individual ready for the win win. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to help others. And that's going to feed me because now I have meaningful, worthwhile work. And I get to be paid for this. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Mhm.
Some people can choose to do pro bono. That is really up to them because you do have the flexibility of creating your own business, however you want to do that. We encourage our coaches to have at least one pro bono client throughout the year. Now that could be someone who's with you for 6 months and then you have another person for 6 months. But that is a kind of a give back for us. And then the rest, you charge what you want. But here are skills and tools and work that you can start doing even while you're in training. I really believe that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, all of the things that we do are so connected, and actually that's what I want to say too, is that like you're going through this program, right? Each week it builds, but in between, right, that week in between your sessions, you start to like see and notice all of these tools coming up. Like we have one called levels of listening, and then you'll go through your life and you'll be like, that was a level 1 conversation, or that was a level 2 conversation. And it's things like that that those are glimmers, really. I would say that they're glimmers, 'cause glimmers are not necessarily the opposite of triggers, but they're definitely moments that like almost feel like aha moments or like deja vu moments that kind of light you up and you're like, "Oh, wow." Like they can definitely give you joy, but there's so many little glimmers like that that come up in between the sessions that it starts to feel more ingrained in you. And I also, because we meet every week and we're learning these concepts, the concepts are or just like our curriculum in general is a language. It's a language that we're all speaking. And so we're learning the language together and we're introducing words and terminology for things that are generally felt very often in the human condition, in the human life, that we don't have words for. And so we don't often get to communicate that with the people in our life because it's like, how do I describe that? How do I explain what I'm feeling? When it might be misconstrued or it might be taken as something for them to do, but I just need to talk. Or there's a lot of moments where we feel like we can't talk about those things with people who already exist in our life. And so in this community that we have, every week you come back home and you start to speak the same language of things that you weren't able to vocalize before or articulate before, because they're people, regardless of how deeply they know you, they don't have to know your family, you don't have to know, honestly, they don't even have to know your last name to really really deeply understand the experience you're having and the things that have impacted you and just how it changes you, and then give you a space to really open up and blossom out of it. um yeah, it's really beautiful to speak the same language as someone, especially when you didn't realize that you were at a loss for words before.
Yes. Yes. And one of the tenets that we hold just through all the work that we do is that everybody in the entire world wants to be seen, heard, and gotten. And I'm talking about the extroverts, of course, but the introverts. We want to be gotten. We want people to be able to understand and relate to us. And I hear so often, like, how do you create safe space so somebody feels seen, heard, and gotten? And that, I mean, you mentioned the levels of listening, but particularly powerful listening. It's something that we teach to not to a fault, but insidiously, because it is a core thing. And so to do that in a way where somebody feels like the safety has increased, that they are really known, that here is somebody who cares about them without judgment and sees them for who they really are, that's worth gold.
Mhm.
And the fact that we teach this and that we can propagate the world with this kind of energy and way of being is just such a lovely addition to curriculum in general.
Yeah. So I'll do my takeaway first.
Okay.
So my takeaway is that the fundamentals is a really it's a fresh place to start. It's a really comfy place to start with the cancer journey curriculum. Um it is such a beautiful group of people who are saying yes to starting to ingrain something new into their lives to um improve the experience for other people, right? Regardless of if they've had experience before or not, there's always nuggets to share between that community. And with 12 weeks, it's just 3 months. It is a really quick program. And we find that, like, towards the end, people are like, wait, I'm not ready for it to end. And so, in lieu of that, the other option or the subsequent option is then our 8 month program, which is the full certification program, which goes even deeper into each of these lessons, deeper into the curriculum with even more practice and more experience with, like, getting to see demonstrations and having group practice. So there's just moreness in there. Um, and the fundamentals really is like, because we don't brush over things, but you do get this really wide view of what the cancer journey has to offer, that it always makes you hungrier for more. um and I think that's a great place to be as you're going to either start or continue to improve the business that you already have, or the work that you already do. It's a beautiful addition to not just your work, but to your life in general. And I just love when people start coming to class when they're brand new to the curriculum, right? They're like, oh my God, I like had this experience in my life like 2 days ago that was exactly what we were talking about last week. And I have to share that because I have to share how this work has changed the way I interact with the people around me and the way that I get to be in this world. And I don't feel like I have to hide, and I get to appreciate myself and what I bring. So that's my takeaway. My pesh. Um, physically, I can never do pesh without closing my eyes. Physically, I'm a 4.7. Emotionally, a 4.5. Spiritually, a 4.4. And hope is a 4.4. And my word is beginnings.
So my takeaway, well, I know this program obviously, and I actually love this program because it is that light entry point touch, and what it does is it surprises everyone. They're like, I had no idea it was going to be like this. Wow, why didn't you tell me? And it's one of those things that you have to experience.
Mhm.
The container that we create, the community that's there, the learning that happens, and the personal ahas. I mean, I can say it, and people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what we did, and we'll probably keep this just because it's such an experiential and interactive experience, is that we have a money back guarantee. And we are so generous with our money back guarantee that it's like, come try it on. You do have to make at least a deposit to try it on for 2 sessions. If at the end of the second session you go, it's not the right timing, this doesn't seem like this is what I want, okay, you tried it, you gave it your all. We loved welcoming you into our community, and if it's not for you, we will give you your money back. And that's how it works. So it's like it is a total win-win for us. We get to meet you and experience you, and win for you where you get something. 2 weeks of is very rich. That's 4 hours of concepts, training, practice, all that we said earlier, and a chance to really get an experience of what CJI is about, the Cancer Journey Institute, what we're about. So, my PASH, I know that sounded like the sales call, but it really is important for me to try something on before I really commit. And so I know that if I need it, I'm giving that opportunity to everybody else out there who's being even just curious what my word was. My PASH is 4.2 for it physical, emotional 4.4, spirit 4.4, hope 4. And my word is smiley. When I think about the people who finish fundamentals and are on to the next space, whatever that is, whether it's certification or venturing out there, I just get happy and the smile comes to my face. So that's what that's about.
Well, we hope that you're able to join us for our fundamentals that's coming up in May 2025. All the information's on our website, but if you're not able to join us, we have more sessions running, likely in 2026, but we may end up adding one for 2025. We'll see. It's really based on the interest and the anticipation for what's coming up. So, if you have any questions, just reach out to us. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for a new episode of the Cancer Journey podcast.
Yes. What I want to say is have a lovely rest of your day and remember, you're more powerful than you realize.